I don't know, in instances where like I've been in denial about, you know, something that's right in front of me, I think I had to accept reality when being in denial was just doing me more harm.
Welcome back to QR Coded.
I'm Queen.
I'm Raquel, and we are back today with episode 8. Today's quote is a bit deep, but we took a suggestion from one of you, actually. So when we're kind of facing a writer's block or we're not really sure what topic to really address in an episode, we do ask for your opinions, and we do take them clearly because we took your advice. If you know who you are once we read the quote and the topic. But the topic of today's episode is denial. So knowing the truth and despite that still choosing to turn the cheek. And we've all done it before, but yeah, I'm gonna get into the quote unless you have something to add.
Not really. I mean, when you sent me the quote, I had to like read it a few times to unpack it, but I was like, let's do it. Let's go for it.
All right, so we're going for it. And today's quote is by C.S. Lewis. And I'm going to briefly just touch on who he is and what he's really known for, if you don't know already. He wrote the Chronicles of Narnia, which I have never read myself personally, but
I don't have much background knowledge on him. I've read the book. Is it a series? It's a series.
I believe it is.
I've read the first one, the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and I've seen the first movie, but that's it.
Yes. So that's a really big thing that he's known for. He's also really known for writing Christian apologetics, which I won't really get into much in this episode about that. But he's a very personable individual and very applicable once you kind of read more about him and his mission and like why he wrote the way he did and why he wrote what he wrote. It's nice to see like his storyline. So kind of reminds you that like he was a person as well, despite like his fame and stuff of, you know, his literature. So really cool guy. So the quote is, "Denial is the shock absorber for the soul. It protects until we are equipped to cope with reality." Yeah.
Like she said, it's a deep one.
Yeah, it sure is. And of course, leave it to me to find all the deep ones, right?
I found some deep quotes.
No, I'm just kidding. But like, I feel like mine are always like a smack in the face.
Yeah.
They're very aggressive.
I know you sent it to me and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like, let me read this a few times.
It was like, oh, we're going there. Yeah. So, all right, let's break it down a little bit. The first half of the quote is like probably my favorite. It says, "Denial is the shock absorber for the soul." So it's almost like, for me, like thinking about like a sponge or like a towel. When you spill something, you make that mess. Your initial shock absorber, literally absorbing that mess, is a towel or a sponge. Maybe you spilled it like on your paperwork or your laptop or something like that, right? That's where the second half of the quote comes in. It protects until we are equipped to cope with reality. So you got that initial shock absorber, you cleaned up the water with your sponge or your towel, whatever it is, okay? I don't know who uses sponges.
I'm thinking back to when we were very young.
Yes.
This is a tangent.
I know what you're talking about.
So I don't even know how old we were. We were young, and
yes,
I don't even know what we were doing. We were probably snacking. We had some like soda or water.
It was water.
It was water. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
In your old house, you had like a library room. Your mom had her like paperwork on the desk in the library.
Yeah.
And I think we were on the computer. We were like watching YouTube videos and snacking and having some water.
Yep.
And I don't know if it was me or you, but one of us spilled a whole bottle of water all over Raquel's mom's paperwork.
Yeah.
And she was at work at the time. And so I just remember we were both like
freaking
frantic, trying to like, we grabbed towels. We were like trying to like pat them dry. And then we took like,
a blow dryer
to dry the paperwork. And then we put like really heavy books on top so they wouldn't get wrinkled.
But of course they got wrinkled.
Yeah. And the best part is I don't even know how long after we told your mom what happened, and she was like, oh, like I didn't even notice. And we're like, great. We were panicking. It was so funny. We were young.
Yeah.
Very, very off topic conversation, but kind of on topic.
No, yeah, kind of on topic because, okay, like we made that mess. We messed up her paperwork, and then they were wrinkled. They were crinkled after it, and that was like a new reality, if you will, that she kind of had to face with.
Connect it back.
Yeah. Not that it was like super detrimental for her, but it was something that she needed for work, and she has to turn in these forms.
Yeah.
She still does this to this day, actually. She still has like physical copies of paperwork to fill in. Anyway, but yeah, so essentially my whole comparison with that is that when you start to apply it to your life, like let's talk more on a personal level, on a deeper level, if you will, when you're thinking about denial in like a friendship or something, right? And you hear something that you don't want to believe is true, or just in general. Doesn't have to be a friendship. Regardless, your initial reaction is what? No, that can't be.
Yeah.
Right? And like, why is that the first thing you say?
That's a good question. I think it's the trust you have in that relationship, whatever kind of relationship it is, right? It's the trust in the foundation of that relationship, which is why we just immediately
resort to, right?
No, that's not them.
Yeah, this can't be. Like, I don't, because it's almost like you don't want it to be.
Yeah.
But then eventually you'll have to adjust, and when you're ready, you'll be equipped to cope with the reality of it being true.
Yeah. I totally agree with the denial as a shock absorber. I think that's a beautiful way of describing it, and it just captures it so accurately. It is a coping mechanism. It's what stands between you and reality. It is, when you know the truth, but you choose to refuse the truth. And usually that's a result from some type of fear or anxiety around the truth. Like I said, that you already know, you just don't want to face. Sometimes I see denial as, someone having this skewed or like cloudy understanding of their reality. Yeah. And they don't see what's truly in front of them. They only see what they want to see. They're in denial about the truth. And I think usually denial is like short-term relief. It's like a short-term shock absorber. But I know that, and I've seen it firsthand, and it's so heartbreaking. And I think this is just a big problem in our generation. But when someone is in denial about something that is truly like harming their health and well-being, like for example, substance abuse, if they are in denial about, there's something wrong with them, and they think that they're okay, for an extended period of time, it's not damaging them, but it's also hurting the people around them. It's hurting their loved ones, people closest to them, because they aren't in denial. They see the truth. They see the harm, and they're living it too. And I think that long-term denial is the most damaging, because short-term, like, denial is something we all do, and we all deny things, and it's to protect ourselves. It's from the fear of the truth. But I think in those like more difficult situations, when it comes to, again, like I said, like things like substance abuse, that long-term denial kind of keeps you from getting the help you need, any professional support you need before, and it starts to impact the people around you. It hurts the people around you.
Yeah, that's a big one that you mentioned, because I mean, anyone who's like learned about those kinds of topics knows like the first step to getting any sort of help or making some sort of change is accepting it for yourself. Like you, as that individual going through that, whatever sort of substance misuse or whatever it is that you're going through, if you as an individual don't accept it for yourself, no matter who's around you, you can have the best support system. It's not going to make a difference. So yeah, I really do like that you mentioned that, because it shows that like it's on you it's in some regard. Yeah.
Letting go of denial means acceptance and accepting your new reality.
I have a kind of like a counter question to that. So like I just mentioned, like it's kind of on you to realize and accept it on yourself, right? So how does one know, like, maybe you don't have the answer to it, but I mean, but you know, just how does one know like when too much denial is like enough is enough? Like I'm tired of being in denial. How do you know when it's time to like face your reality?
That's a good question. I think it really comes down to, your instant reaction to hearing something you don't want to hear, or experiencing something difficult, is to deny the truth to protect yourself, right? There's some fear, like I said, there's some anxiety around it. But I think if you're in denial for too long, that is doing more harm than just facing reality. So I don't know, in instances where like I've been in denial about, something that's right in front of me, I think I had to accept reality when being in denial was just doing me more harm. You just learn it the hard way when it kind of hits you. It kind of feels like everything is crumbling. Yeah. It's really what it feels like. And I'll get into specifics in a bit, but yeah, I think it really is when it starts to do more harm. Yeah.
Think of it like kind of like on a balance. If the denial is,
it stops absorbing the shock. Like, if the towel, the sponge is
full,
kind of like overloaded,
right?
It's not.
It's just gonna stay wet anymore. Forever.
It's not gonna do its job anymore. Yeah.
That's a good one. There we go. Yeah. Nice. Okay. Okay, so like narrowing it down a little bit, what type of denial are we talking about today? For me, like the most relatable and applicable type of denial is in regards to a friendship or relationship between like two people, because this can be particularly tough because that's something that you're working to like maintain, because you have this trust that's been established between you and that other person, and now it's potentially hindered or lost even because of who knows what the scenario is, right? And you can choose like what you want to believe for the sake of the friendship, to preserve it if you want. But if you're constantly reliving a scenario in your head, that could be in its way a form of denial, and there's some like lack of accountability there. And I mean, I can give like a specific like example.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. I was like, can you give me an example of a scenario?
Yeah,
because like I'm thinking more kind of more deeply rooted red flags or kind of like character flaws that people avoid, versus like everything was fine and then something happened. You know what I mean? So can you give an example or a specific scenario?
I mean, your thought process is also another form of denial in itself too. So you're not wrong. But I'm thinking more so like you have two like best friends, let's say, and then like a third party person comes and tells one of them that the best friend is saying something behind their back, or starting rumors behind their back. Yeah, like just not being the friend that you see them to be. Yeah. And of course, your initial reaction is like, no, I know them more than anyone else knows them. There's no way that they would be like this, And that's your like initial reaction, right? Like they would never do this to me. And think about like, why are you telling yourself that? And then maybe if you want to like address it, you could, but then there's others who would rather choose not to address it either. So that's where that kind of lack of accountability comes in, is if you were to, I feel like, just leave it and acknowledge that, no, that's not them, and then just like
remain in denial.
Yeah, and then like don't do anything about it. That almost sounds like suffocating in a way.
Yeah, because the other, because if they said something kind of bad enough, right, if that friend who was talking behind your back was saying harmful things, the reality you are not facing, being in denial, is possibly just losing that friendship, a friend breakup. Throwback to our friendship Q&A. Yeah. If you didn't watch that, please go back and watch it.
Yes.
It was a fun one. Yeah. Okay. Back on track. But yeah, that's the reality that, that friend is choosing not to face, because in the moment it is more challenging to face that reality than just avoid the truth and be in denial. Yeah.
And same goes for like a relationship. You can apply the same scenario to a relationship between two people, between a guy and a girl, for example.
Yeah.
Same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I think for both of these examples or situations, or denial in friendship, denial in relationships, it really comes down to putting this other person in this relationship, whether that's a friendship or a romantic relationship. It's putting that person on a pedestal, which I have done, and that is being in denial. Well, okay, no, I'm not going to jump the gun on that. So in the kind of context of denial, when you are putting someone on a pedestal, you're kind of exaggerating their good qualities and overlooking red flags or things that they are doing that hurt you, which then leads you to being in denial that this friendship or relationship is a good fit for you. I'm not saying don't, appreciate and celebrate all the amazing qualities of your friend and your significant other, right? Do that. But if we are just lying to ourselves and saying that, all my friends and, my significant other is perfect, and then my significant other thinks that I'm this perfect individual with no flaws, that can be very harmful. That can be super it can end up toxic. It's important to see weaknesses and flaws in your relationships. Healthy conflict is natural and it is normal, and that's what makes healthy relationships. Thinking your friend or your partner is perfect is dangerous, because you're under this false impression that everything they do is perfect, which isn't the case. And so when something, when that shock absorber kind of wears thin and it's not absorbing the shock anymore, you're like, how do I navigate this? How do I get through this? Because you've been living kind of like in this la la land, this fairy tale of like, this is a perfect individual, when that's not the case. Yeah.
Nice. I'm thinking about conflict, because you mentioned conflict. So obviously nothing is perfect, like you said, and conflict is good. What if there's this like constant conflict, this like repeated behavior, or like a constant conflict, okay? And how do you navigate that? How do you just navigate something that's constantly happening? Do you think that there's like a lack of address, lack of
communication about it?
Confrontation about it, communication about it?
Well, okay, if someone is aware of the fact that there's this conflict that keeps coming up, and
what if they're not, though? How about this?
Wait, what?
Hold on. Let me reword this.
Rephrase.
Okay. So let's say that I'm noticing something
Okay.
in your life
Okay.
that could be potentially harmful
Okay.
or just like not good for you.
Okay, so like this is our friendship.
Yes.
You're noticing something
Yes.
in my life that I'm doing or that I'm engaging in that's could be harmful to
Yes.
me. Okay.
What is your reaction to me like addressing that to you? Because to some people that can be like, I don't want to hear it. Or, you know, would you accept it? Would you take my like word for it?
So there are two kind of, I see two ends of the story.
Yes.
Here, right? Like,
yeah. There's two endings, but yeah.
Two endings to the story.
Yes.
One is, no, I'm fine. What are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
That's
denial. Yes.
And then there's, oh wait, maybe you have a point. Like maybe there is something wrong. Now, maybe there are, okay, I don't think it's that, clear. There's probably some gray area in between.
Sure, yeah, of course.
Because then it's like, well, maybe there's something wrong, but yeah, I can work on it. Yeah, I can, start to avoid this thing that's causing me harm in my life. So I think there is some gray area. Well, I just hit the microphone if you're listening and not watching.
I got you.
Thank you. I think it's not as cut and dry as denial, acceptance, right? There's some gray area in between, and maybe we live in that gray area a lot.
Yeah.
And it's not like one or the other all the time, but I don't know. I mean, I guess if you're asking what I would do, is I think being the type of person that I am, I'd hear you out and then
do what you want with it.
But like I've been in denial before, and it's just you want to believe. Sometimes it's also like I want to believe that I'm better than what you think I am. Like, right? Oh, you're calling me out on this flaw. No, like I'm better than that. I don't have that flaw.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. You kind of are like that.
I think times where I've been in denial.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I can't think of any examples right now. After this, she's going to tell me, she's going to be like, you know that one time when
yeah, remember that one time when you did this and said this and then I just like didn't say anything about it? Well, no, I'm just kidding.
I told you so.
Yeah. Oh.
She knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Oh my gosh. Listen, I've told you so many times, okay?
Yeah.
And she chose to ignore me.
Yeah.
And then when I was right, I was like, I'm not going to tell you I told you so.
But I told you so.
But I told you so.
It happens.
Yeah.
Communication is so important.
Yeah.
And I feel like we say that all the time, but putting people on a pedestal can lead to a lot more harm than, celebrate the great things. It's important to celebrate the good in these people in your life, right? If we're not, then we're constantly looking at the negatives. That is also going to do some damage.
Right.
But it's important not to overlook the things that are doing harm.
Yeah.
Which seems like a duh type of thing, right? Like, of course, obviously, but
life is hard.
Yeah.
It seems like a very easy thing to do, but like various other life factors come into play and like they affect your overall like mindset and approach and everything else, and that also just like kind of messes with your relationships and your idea of denial and what to accept and what to not accept. So there's a lot of outside factors that come into play, and you need to just like I think consider all of them in some way.
I came across this haiku. It's a Japanese haiku. It was written like at the turn of the 20th century.
Okay.
It's cute because it's looking at accepting reality in a very beautiful way.
Okay.
It encourages like a trust in facing this darkness of reality, and what is unknown in reality, which is what causes us fear and anxiety, and which is what causes us to be in denial,
But reality doesn't have to be dark.
No, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree with that. I'm just going to read it. I have it here.
Read
It says, if you put out the lamp, distant stars enter your window. And it's like, I don't know. I just thought it was cute because it's looking at this differently. Like leaving this light on because of
this
fear,
little lamp.
right? Like leaving the light on because of fear is being in denial. Being able to like put out that lamp means facing this darkness, but it frames it in a way where it's not so bad. Because in doing that, you open up opportunities for these stars,
right, to come in,
and all the good things that can come from just facing the truth and not being in denial. And I feel like we can read the quote to wrap up, right?
Yeah.
So back to the quote.
Take it away.
Denial is the shock absorber for the soul. It protects until we are equipped to cope with reality. So I don't know if we, thanked you all enough in the beginning. I don't think we did, but thank you all for listening. Yes. We truly do appreciate you all. If you didn't know, we are on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Subscribe, follow, like, comment.
Give us your suggestions because we take them.
We love getting suggestions. Yes. And we hope you are all taking care of yourselves and everyone around you, and you are just thriving and being your best self and always protecting your peace. We thank you all, and we hope you join us next time on QR Quoted. I'm Queen.
I'm Raquel.
And this is
QR Quoted.